Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Grid Live Encore. I'm Ben Schneider alongside Brandon Crossland and Casey Campbell. Brandon, it's good to see you again after a week off. How are you doing?
I'm all right, guys. It's good to be back after we're getting through basketball tournaments here in Tennessee with the station and all that. So thank you, Grid audience, also for bearing with me there. But here in a little bit, should be here consistently for the season on Monday nights.
And Casey, everything going well with you?
Yeah, it's similar to what Brandon's going through, but up here in Michigan, I think we're in the middle of hockey, girls basketball, and boys basketball tournaments here, and of course the NASCAR coverage as well. So it'll be fun, and also F1 and IndyCar start this week too. So it's going to be a jam-packed few weeks for us, also on the wrap-up show as well as right here on the Encore show and all our grid programs.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of racing to go over next weekend for sure with
big time.
Formula One coming back. Not as much this weekend. We only had the Xfinity Series, so we're going to get into that. But before we do that, I want to have a bit of an open segment and discuss the racetrack that we were just at and that we'll be visiting for the final time, at least as we know it. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a second. But first, as always, want to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters, Colin Deschelle, Mark, Robin, and David. Your support means the world to us. It allows us to continue to expand our coverage here at Grid Network. As you can see on the screen, the more money we can earn through Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee as well, the more coverage we'll be able to get our audience from the racetrack moving forward. So thank you so much for that. Now let's get into the show here. We're going to get into the final race of Auto Club Speedway's 2-mile history in a moment. But first, since we only have the one race to cover today in the Xfinity Series, I want to start by talking about the future of this racetrack. As most of you probably know, this was the final weekend. At least that's the plan for now for the 2-mile track. The current plan seems to be, at the moment, to have the land sold off, though exact details are still very much up in the air, and the facility to be converted to a short track. But on that note, just this afternoon, Adam Stern of Sports Business Journal put out this tweet, quoting track president Dave Allen. I'm hopeful that we get to a point here in the near future, sometime this year, there's going to be more information coming out and a timeline established. Guys, I don't know about you, but I don't know if he could have been more vague than he was in that tweet. It sounds like things are still being finalized as we speak here. There might not be as clear of a plan as we initially thought. So, Brandon, I just want to pose this question to you. If you were in charge, what would the future of Auto Club Speedway look like for you?
Well, that's a very dangerous question to answer, isn't it? Because I don't want to get slapped in the face by the millions of people that have different opinions than me. But Auto Club Speedway, as much as I love let's call it California Speedway, okay? As much as I love that place, I think it was time to change. Call me crazy. I mean, sometimes it did have its great moments, but at the end of the day, it's not personally, now this is my opinion here, so don't run off to the races with it, but it's not a track I always really like check marked on the calendar, like gotta make sure I see that one. But I love the venue. I definitely love the gorgeous scenery behind it, the mountains and all that there in Fontana. But the 2-mile configuration, if it was going to continue the way it is now, would it need a repave eventually like Atlanta? Yes, as much as the drivers love the weepers and the old asphalt, yes, it was going to need some sort of repave at some point. But now that we're looking at the short track idea, I kind of like it. I hope it happens. I didn't realize actually before this weekend how much in the air this conversation about the short track actually was. I know iRacing has already kind of helped them develop the blueprint, I guess, if you will, of the, how they can reconfigure the banking and just exactly what it might look like and the layout and everything like that. But I didn't realize how vague things still were for this project. And this tweet doesn't help much at all either. To answer the question, if I had it my way, I guess I would continue with this short track idea that they're going for. I mean, that I was on board with it whenever they said it. And I didn't have much sad feelings about Auto Club, the 2-mile configuration leaving, I guess, until this weekend or last year. This has kind of been going on for the past 3 years or so. I guess COVID really stopped everything. So we've had a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah, we definitely got the news pre-COVID that this was probably going to happen. Casey, I'll pose the same question to you here. What would you do with Auto Club Speedway if you were in charge of this whole project?
Oh Lord, don't ask me that. My goodness. You know what? I honestly don't know. This is probably you're probably asking the wrong person to do this. I don't. I really honestly don't know. I don't think I could be really trusted with that, but I don't know. I mean, but the thing is, it's like what Brandon said. It is going to need a repaint, just like Atlanta. I mean, but who knows what it could turn into? I know that you want to possibly a destination location race, possibly have that race be the championship race. I don't know, but it concerns me that the Southern California market might not have anything. I don't know what temporary fix you have. I know a lot of people are saying go to Irwindale. I know that track just got sold. And I know that Auto Club NASCAR just sold a bunch of land to somebody or something like that. But I don't know. It's just right now we just need to hear more details. I just think I was listening to a few other podcasts. I think they're just a lot of people are saying they're done. I just think I don't know. Really don't. I mean, I think we just at this point you just got to say. I guess we just got to be confident that it's going to turn into this, but I don't think it is. It's just I don't think I think this is it for Auto Club. I really do.
I saw the number 550 million going around the block.
Yeah, that's substantial.
Yeah,
I just think that, but the thing is, NASCAR needs to have a presence in that Southern California area.
Sure.
I know a lot of people are talking about putting the Clash as a points race and all that stuff. Basically, everyone that I've talked with, including drivers, media members, and basically everyday people, don't want to see that happen. You can't fit all the cars on there.
It's not feasible. They can't fit all the cars there.
I mean, there's ways to do it. I think I've seen different formats made on how to do it. You're just gonna. I mean, but the thing is, it's like if that's the answer to how things are going to get done, it's just I just think that it's going to be a pretty unpopular move if they decide to do that. It's going to be a lot of. I mean, could you imagine put the Xfinity Series on there or even the Truck Series? It's who knows what could happen over there, but I don't know. It's I know that just move it to Irwindale. I know Irwindale's got its own thing there, but also here's another thing that they're talking about. When this supposed short track opens up, you're going to have to deal with all these environmental regulations. Remember California is still I think you have to. I don't read up on California law, but I know that they're trying to heavily get rid of every gas-powered car or something like that. So, you just have to follow these regulations. So I don't know what could happen out there, because the thing is, you're seeing, more racetracks close down than they open up. So it's
yeah. Well, that would be interesting to see if it's technically considered a new facility, if it wouldn't be grandfathered in to some of those clauses, if there would have to be certain rules and regulations that they follow that maybe Auto Club. I mean, I'm just speaking hypothetically here. I'm not very familiar with California law either, but there's certainly a lot to consider there. I compare this, to the situation in Atlanta. Atlanta was another track that I think a lot of fans really enjoyed. The worn out surface put on some really good racing, but it was becoming apparent in the final races there that it was time. You couldn't just keep on with the status quo and continue to try to milk another year out of the asphalt. It had to be repaved. I think the problem came with the reconfiguration. A lot of fans don't like that it became a mini super speedway. They would have liked to have seen the track just be given a repave as is, and ideally the surface would age the same way the old surface did, and we'd be back to having the track that we knew and loved, eventually several years down the road. I understand people's hesitancy. They said that, when we repaved Michigan, we didn't get good races there. A lot of times when you go through a repave, it takes a few years for the track surface to age and, kind of come into its own and then we start to see the quality in racing go up. I'm sure a similar thing would happen at Fontana. I apologize. I'm getting a notice that my internet might be dipping a little bit, so bear with me there. I think that's in a perfect world, that's probably what I would have liked to have seen, just a regular, normal repave. But this world is far from perfect, as we know, and I know that when you throw out numbers like $550 million out there, or whatever the case may be, for selling that land, imagine it'd be pretty hard to turn that down.
And I don't know what the NASCAR fan base is really wanting the right answer to be here. Like, what do we want? A miniature Riverside there on the campus? Like, what is everyone's favorite answer here? I feel like we're in the minority of saying, or the folks that are in the minority are the ones that are saying, oh, it just needs to go ahead with the short track idea, or we just need to keep the 2 mile format, but just repave it. Like, what is it? What's the famous response here?
I don't know. I think fans are pretty divided on the issue. I don't know if we can even agree among ourselves.
As most NASCAR fans are, but it's just there isn't a right, and there never will be a right answer. It's just obviously most decisions NASCAR is making, most of the time they know what they're doing, and it ends up working most of the time. So I don't know. I mean, I know that the TV networks want to have NASCAR in Los Angeles. I mean, it's the second biggest city in America. I mean, why wouldn't you have a race there? Why wouldn't you go to New York City? I mean, go there before F1 goes there, because that's probably their next. That's probably their next race, to add a fourth American race. But
that opens up the other can of worms. Are we trying to compete with F1?
That, you know what? I'm going to say this. I think we are. I think NASCAR is.
Well, it certainly seems like they're trying to do that with Chicago.
Well, yeah. I mean, there talks about New York and all that stuff, and definitely. And it's going to be, and if they add Andretti to the grid to F1, that's going to be another one of those sites up there's kind of going in F1's corner, but it's definitely going to be. Yeah, I did go there. So
don't get me started on the headline that came out whenever it was, yesterday or today. I don't even remember. 600 million now. Is that what they're?
Yeah, it's 600. Yeah, it's 600 million. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, F1 will always be 20 teams until it. I just don't see.
Well, we'll save that discussion for. Maybe Grit can touch on that a little bit.
Getting off the beaten path here, but all I was saying was the other option for the Southern California market would be an LA street race, but that seems even less feasible. That's all I was getting at there.
Sure, and the Coliseum isn't. Yeah, Coliseum isn't feasible either. Joey Logano said it, I think, in his post-race interview. I mean, it was crammed enough with whatever it was, 27 cars on the track. Imagine trying to add 9 more. Or whatever for
you're going to find pit stops, how many laps are there going to be?
Yeah.
It just can't. I mean, I get the I get that you're trying to do all these temporary courses, temporary street courses, and stadium races, and I mean it's cost effective. You don't have to maintain it, or you can just go in, rent the place, and get out. I mean, I think that's what you're going to kind of see in the next few years, as everyone's pretty careful with money, and I know that NASCAR has gone down. They're trying to be more cost effective. We're kind of seeing it with the teams, so I think that's kind of maybe the direction that they want to go. It may not be the right direction, but we'll see.
Yeah. My last word on it, I wish Elon Musk would just go and recreate Riverside somewhere in Southern California. It doesn't have to be Riverside, but permanent, just buy out all the land, make another Riverside.
He could create the regional sports networks, so maybe that could work out too.
Or he could sponsor Andretti and help them pay the $600 million entry fee. We'll see. Let's catch up on the chat here. I know we've been enjoying this discussion here. It's kind of amazing. We were already at 16 minutes for the show, but let's catch up on some of these comments. Adam Lemery says it won't be the same without Auto Club Speedway on the NASCAR schedule, another 2 mile track on. And I guess that's really, what I'm feeling is that, we have a few short tracks and intermediates. I know, I guess NASCAR was trying to be unique with this new Atlanta project. So I can at least give them some credit for that. But I hope that whatever short track configuration they come up with is at least something that, isn't just a clone of a Bristol or a Martinsville or whatever. I feel like the initial plan was to kind of keep the original front stretch and turn that into a smaller oval. But, it sounds like they've gone from a half mile to, I think 5/8 was the latest thing we were hearing, although the track president doesn't even seem to be sure himself. So I think there's still a lot up in the air, and we'll get into that in due time, I suppose. Kobe Lambeth asks, what other tracks on the NASCAR schedule need a change?
That opens up a can of worms too.
Yeah, it certainly does. I don't know. I mean, I guess again, I understand what they were trying to do with Atlanta, but I don't know. But I mean, we went through this with Texas as well. They tried to reconfigure Texas, and I think that certainly
Made
did
it
not
worse.
turn out. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you ask some people wanted to keep Auto Club and turn Michigan into a short track, but
they say be careful what you wish for.
My home track. So I mean, I don't know. Sometime for years I was.
I think Dale Jr.'s on the Bristol asphalt train, right? He would like to see that go back to an asphalt track. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. There's all sorts of.
I'd like to see that. Yeah.
I can see an old Bristol reconfiguration.
Oh boy.
Sure. Jose Miego says so many factors with property taxes, potential land development offers to sell, and fans now wanting to keep a track. NASCAR's in a hard spot. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You throw out this proposal. Some fans are going to love it. Some are going to hate it. You can't just, walk it back. I think at this point, no matter what they do, there's going to be some fans that love it, some fans that are really open to the idea, and others that, are going to be turned off by it and not be that excited and want to keep things the way they are. But, like we've been saying, the surface is aging out. It's time to repave it at bare minimum. If you're ever going to take the opportunity to reconstruct it and reconfigure it, I suppose now's the best time to do so.
And I didn't even think about this, but Joe brought up a good point. I think you also have it's going to cost a lot of money to redo that facility, and I'm not sure if taxpayers want to put that forward.
That's true.
So it's I'm not sure if maybe Joe will have to see if there I don't know if there was a vote on this or anything like that, but I'm not sure. But
I mean, you got to think about the local economy. I mean, there's so many layers to this that get affected by it. I want to say hi to Demas, one of our regulars. Good to see you here in the chat, and I'll answer your question when construction on Auto Club's short track begins. I guess it's still up in the air right now. We don't really know. We do know. At least the plan for now is for there to not be an Auto Club Speedway race at least in 2024, maybe even in 2025, because that's how long they're expecting the construction to take. But again, all very much up in the air right now. Our own Matthew Bro as well is in the chat. Good to see you, Matthew. I don't think there's any way NASCAR can sustain enough property from the sale to have a large enough track for Cup racing. So yeah, I mean, and again, that's the number that we've been hearing. Over $500 million, I think, you can definitely make the argument that financially makes a lot more sense for NASCAR than just, keeping the track the way it is and spending all the money on the repave. They can probably take that money that they've earned from the sale and pour that into the reconfiguration.
They had to also pay off some debts too. So.
Yeah, for sure. Adam says NASCAR needs the Southern California market. I think absolutely we all agree there. There's got to be something taking its place, and it has to be more than just the Clash of the Coliseum. We need a points-paying race there as well. The last thing we chat here, and then we'll move on. Joe says, I think a short track would be a possible option. Auto Club Ontario and Riverside were all big facilities, and developers will put up a lot of money. So, yeah, and that's another good point that Joe brings up as well. With those other tracks, we've been here before, with this market in California. It's not the first time we've been asking this question about what's going to be the future of NASCAR's presence here in this massive market for this country. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move on here.
I think we've exhausted it. But
yeah, I'm gonna save my comments so I don't get in trouble.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Well, in that case, let's talk about what ended up being the final race. It was going to be the Cup race. Of course, it snowed in Southern California. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, the weather that we were seeing there this weekend. But that pushed the Xfinity Series race to last night under the lights, kind of fitting that ended up being the backdrop for the final race here on this 2-mile track. Now, after coming up short just short in a photo finish at Daytona last week. John Hunter Nemechek took the final win on the 2-mile track at Auto Club under the lights for Joe Gibbs Racing. Nemechek opens the season with 2 straight top 2 finishes. The win is the 3rd of his Xfinity career, following 2018 Kansas with Ganassi and 2021 Texas in Gibbs' number 54 car. Now, yesterday on the wrap-up show, we asked how big of a statement this was for Kyle Busch and his win with RCR in the Cup Series. How big of a statement were they making? Brandon, when you look at the Xfinity Series now, we'll turn it on a similar note. How big of a statement is this for John Hunter Nemechek as he starts his Xfinity Series title fight?
It's pretty big for John Hunter in the 20 Joe Gibbs. And I will have to admit to you, I did fall asleep at the end of the Xfinity Series race. So was not able to see that win. I just came back to see that he did earn the victory there. So I'm going to have to flip this one over to Casey, unfortunately.
I'll take it from here.
Prematurely.
Yeah, I did get a chance to watch the Xfinity race, and it was good. I mean, those 2 Joe Gibbs Racing cars were basically were up there. They were gonna wreck each other at one point, but yeah, just a lot of impressive cars in the field. But John Hunter really showed how impressive it was. I mean, you know, the omen was, I mean, I think his dad won the first pole at like Auto Club, and then John Hunter wins the last race, so the Nemecheks kind of bookended it a little bit. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, it's good for the 20 team. I mean, it's good for the 20 team. I think to get John Hunter that confidence to get a big win like this. And remember, Joe Gibbs Racing has won the last 2 championships in Xfinity, so I'm sure they want to continue that. But those Joe Gibbs Toyotas were strong last night. But there were a lot of good cars that were out there, and I know we're going to get into that right now.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look here at the rest of the top 10. You see Junior Motorsports just as they were last week, running up towards the front. Of course, it didn't really work out for them, particularly for Sam Mayer, who ended up upside down on the Daytona backstretch. He got a little bit of redemption with a 2nd place finish. 3 of their cars in total in the top 5, with Justin Allgaier 3rd and Josh Berry 5th. Chandler Smith led the way for Colleague and broke up that Junior Motorsports trio there with a 4th place run. The rest of the top 10 consisted of last week's winner, Austin Hill, Riley Herbst, Austin Dillon, Brett Moffitt, and Parker Kligerman. So, Casey, I think I might know the answer to this. We've been talking a lot about Parker and the opportunity he has this year with Big Machine Racing, but you look at that top 10, who else aside from Nemechek stands out the most to you?
Yeah, I think there's a couple on there. If you can pull up the top 10 grid, that would. You look at Parker Kligerman. What that team has done with Big Machine Racing has just been impressive all year long. I think they're just going to keep putting solid results on the board. Brett Moffitt and that AM Racing team has also been very impressive this year as well. I think Brett wanted to, I think a lot of people were wondering if Brett could still do this. And I think, after he lost the championship in trucks in 20 and in 19, they were wondering what's next for him. So I think that AM Racing has really kind of really stepped up their program in the Xfinity Series. Remember, this is their first year in Xfinity. Of course, they also have an ARCA team as well with Christian Rose. But yeah, AM Racing has been really, really impressive in their 2 new series in Xfinity and in ARCA, as well as the truck as well. Actually, we'll get to I'll tell you who's in the AM Racing truck at the end of the show. But yeah, those Moffitt and Kligerman. I think Sam Mayer's also been really impressive as well. He's improved. Actually, he finished 6th in this race last year. Finished 2nd in this race. So this year, so they improved 4 positions from last year. I just think that one team has really stood out to me, and there's been a big difference from this year to last year. And I think it goes back to that crew chief change that they made in the off season with all 4 Junior Motorsports drivers. And I think the combination of Marty Lindley and Sam Mayer, of course, they've won championships in what is known now as the ARCA Menard Series East when they were both at GMS. So I think that's going to be good, and that's a good pairing right there. And then I think Jim Pullman and Justin Allgaier, of course, they won a championship in ARCA back in 2008, and I think that they're really going to turn it on as well in there. So yeah, I think those 2 names are those few names have really impressed me so far.
Yeah, 3 of the top 5 being there. Junior Motorsports is really impressive off of last year's save the 9 of Brandon Jones, who had that issue there. But yeah, Hunter Nemechek taking the victory. Really impressed by Parker Kligerman. I probably already mentioned that as well, but that's big for him to be in the top 10 going full-time this year. And also Chandler Smith in the top 5 is pretty big as well.
Yeah, certainly good for Chandler Smith to bounce back after the disappointment of missing the Daytona 500 with colleague on the Cup side of things. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the show, we've got a big weekend coming up with the return of IndyCar and Formula One. We're thankful to have Casey on board this year so we can expand our coverage of the Road to Indy ladder beyond just what was Indy Lights and is now Indy Next. I got it right this time. I almost said Indy Lights right off the gate, but I modified it and stopped myself before I could. Casey, I just want to give you a few minutes here. Take us through some of the biggest storylines that you're looking at as we approach the season opener here in St. Petersburg.
Well, of course, thank you so much, and I'm excited to bring you all coverage of the entire Road to Indy ladder. So let me tell you all the changes that you're going to see this year in there. Of course, we obviously talked about Indy Next. 9 drivers for HMD Motorsports. They were all on my channel talking to them, so I want to thank HMD for that. Andretti Autosport will have 4 drivers this year. Obviously Jamie Chadwick will be one of them. James Rowe will also be one, as well as Hunter McElroy and defending USF Pro Series champion Louis Foster. So he'll be in there for the 4 Andretti entries. Hunkos Racing will also have 2 entries this year in Indy Next with Reese Gold and with Matteo Nannini. So that should be fun to watch. Kate Motorsports will also have 2 entries as well. Jagger Jones, of course, jumps up from USF 2000 to Indy Next as Kate Motorsports makes the jump from USF to Indy Next. So that's going to be really interesting. He'll have a teammate this year, Anam Amin. I hope I'm saying that right. So he was with Hunkos Racing last year in Indy Pro what is now USF Pro 2000. Yeah, get the jar out there, Ben. I'm going to be saying that a lot this year. And then, of course, for Abel Motorsport, we have Jacob Abel and Colin Kaminsky. And I forgot to mention the HMD drivers. There's this year Josh Pearson, Kiffin Simpson, Josh Green, Christian Rasmussen, Christian Bogle, Rasmus Lynn, Nolan Siegel, Danielle Frost, Ernie Francis Jr. So the Force Indy team went in with HMD Motorsports. So that's going to be another interesting thing to watch right there. All right, let's take you down to you. Let's work you up the ladder. Let's start with there. USF Juniors. So there are 14 cars that were at the test. So USF Juniors, USF 2000, and USF Pro 2000. There's a big difference in between this year between those 3 series and as well as Indy Next. So of course Indy Next uses the Firestone tire compound, and then USF and the USF all 3 USF series will be using the Cooper tires this year. There's also a new chassis for the USF Juniors. Of course, they were using the old style. If you followed the F4 Championship Series, they used those style cars last year. So a lot of things in between there. And also the USF Junior cars will also have the halo on them, or as well as the aero screen, as it's called in IndyCar. The halo, of course, is F1. So that's going to be there. Of course, all 3 USF Pro Series were also at Sebring this for the next 2 days of testing. In USF Juniors, it was Joey Brenza from Exclusive Auto Sport. He'll be the top there. But let's I'll run. Actually, you know what? I'll just run you down the teams there. So in DC Autosport for USF Juniors, it'll be Carson Etter in the 57, Ethan Ho in the 68. For D-Force Racing, we'll have 4 entries this year. Quinn Armstrong in the 16, Lucas Ficuri in the 17. Hope I said that right. Brady Golan in the 18, and Nicholas Giaffoni in the 19. Of course, that is the son of former IndyCar driver Felipe Giaffoni. So that'll be good there. Exclusive will have 4 entries this year. Eric Schotten, Joey Bernenza, Jack Jeffers, and Giovanni Cabrera. And then in VRD, Velocity Racing Development, we'll have Ethan Barker, Max Taylor, Jimmy Lockhart, and Zach Ping. So that'll be good there. Moving up to USF 2000, this could be we've always got a strong grid here for USF 2000. For DC Autosport, I know Ethan Ho is going to be running some part-time stuff as well. I know Joey Brunenza will also be running some races for Exclusive Auto Sport part-time as well. And also Trey Burke will be running some part-time stuff for Future Star Racing. Of course, he'll be might dabble in some NASCAR races as well. And let's take you down the grid there. So for D-Force Racing, there'll be 3 cars in that entry this year. Matt Clark, Jorge Garcia Rossi, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Maxwell Jamieson will be in there for those 3 cars. For Exclusive Autosport, it's Jacob Douglas, Joey Renenza, and Avery Towns. Future Star Racing will have Andre Castro. Of course, he was part of the USF. He was actually part of the Team USA scholarship a few years ago. The Jay Howard Driver Development Team, of course, funded by former IndyCar driver Jay Howard. Of course, Evagoras Paparavis will be in the 6. Al Mori will be in the 7. Loki Hughes will be in the 8. And Lucas St. Jean from Canada will be in the 9. Also, Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing Development. Elliot Cox will move up to USF 2000 and run the full season. And 5 entries for Velocity Racing Development with Sam Corey in the 14, Nikita Johnson in the 17, Danny Tolseski in the 18, Gordon Scully in the 19, and Noah Ping in the 32. So obviously kind of cool to have brothers in there with both Noah and Zach Ping. So that's pretty cool. And they're 2 brothers from Georgia. So obviously a couple there. And now we finally moved to USF Pro 2000. I think this is the most cars on the grid. I believe there will be 19 cars on the grid for this series, most since 2014. So that is always good to see. It's always good to see this series growing as well. D-Force Racing will have 2 cars with Biagio Garg and Kiko Porto. Those cars were obviously strong at the test. Exclusive Autosport will have 4 entries with Yuvin Sudhamarudi, Salvador Dialba, Joel Grandforce, and then Lindsey Brewer will also run in full time in USF Pro 2000. I'll probably be. I think she's gonna. Obviously, it's been good to see her impressing as well, and obviously, I think we'll be talking with her, talking about that on the Women in Motorsports show. Jay Howard Development will have 2 drivers. Risha Yushi Iwajima, of course, he comes over from F3. Ricardo Escato will be in the 4. Also, Miller Vinatieri Motorsports. Of course, this is the team that's co-owned by former Colts kicker and Patriots kicker Adam Vinatieri. Jack William Miller, of course, will be driving that machine for that team. Of course, Pabst Racing will also have 3 entries this year in Indy Pro 2000 with Jordan Missick in the 19, Jace Denmark in the 20. Of course, who was one of the runners-up in the championship in USF 2000 last year. And, of course, Miles Rowe will also be the Force Indy team will partner with Pabst Racing in USF Pro 2000. And of course, Miles was also featured on our Life on the Grid show back in December. So that was good to see. For TJ Speed Motorsports, this is going to be one of the teams to watch this year. Liram Zindelli, if you don't know who that is, you probably should. Of course, he competed in Formula 2 for Campos Racing. So obviously he comes over to America and wants to try to climb up the ladder here. Francesco Pizzi, of course, will also be competing for TJ Speed in the 67, and then of course Christian Weir, of course, who's from Naperville, Illinois. Of course, he was actually he'll be popping on my channel every now and then to kind of talk about the season there. And then Turn 3 Motorsport will have 3 entries. Mike Orlando will be in the 1, of course, the defending champion in USF 2000. Jonathan Brown will return to Turn 3 Motorsport in the 2 entry, and then Jackson Lee jumps up from USF 2000 to USF Pro 2000, and of course that is the son of NBC sports broadcaster Kevin Lee. So of course Jackson was just on this channel a few weeks ago. So a lot of drivers from all 3 series will be checking in on my channel as well, and they might just even appear on Grid Network. So you never know what could happen there. So that's kind of the recap, the lowdown from all three series as well. The schedules are going to be primarily about the same. Indy next, of course, will kick off the season at St. Pete this weekend, as well as USF Pro 2000 and USF 2000. I'll keep you updated on Twitter. Of course, and of course, we'll also give you some updates on that right here on Grid Network, and we might even have a few drivers on here. You never know.
And we'll be looking forward to the season opener at St. Pete this weekend and our expanded coverage of that ladder all season long. So, Casey, thank you so much for those updates. Certainly a lot to look forward to on that front as well. Well, let's get into the final part of our show here, the one shining moment. Again, just the Xfinity race to recap this weekend. Brandon, if you have a one shining moment, I know it's been a busy week for you, and you said you didn't get to catch the entire Xfinity race, but I'll let you go first here regardless. What's your one shining moment looking at these results from Xfinity at the final race on the 2-mile track at Auto Club?
I think the one shining moment to me was I just kept thinking just the way that it ended at Auto Club. If this is truly the end of the 2-miler, that the race was postponed from Saturday to Sunday, which made the Xfinity Series possibly the final series to race on the 2-mile oval and also on a Sunday. So I thought that was really special for the Xfinity Series, even though they went over to FS2. Maybe some different kind of exposure that was kind of forced on them. So that may be my one shining moment there.
Sorry about that, Brandon. Casey, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a couple of them. So I'm going to go with Sam Mayer. I think that just that one team's been really, really strong these past few weeks. It will. The question is not if he's going to win. The question is when. I just think that team is just firing on all cylinders right now. They've been fast at Daytona. They were fast at Auto Club. It'll be interesting to see how they go throughout the season. Obviously, every team's going to hit that low point where they can't really figure it out and stuff. It'll be interesting to see how a lot of those teams are doing right now. And then I got to give it to AM Racing too. Brett Moffitt has just been strong for that team, and just really overall impressed with what AM Racing's been able to do in these first few races. I think Brett Moffitt's going to be a contender for some good finishes this season as well.
I'm going to give a call to Sheldon Creed. I know he didn't get the finish that he necessarily wanted, but did you guys see that save?
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, that reminded, I think somebody on Twitter said it was like Bobby Labonte at Daytona all those years ago in that 71 car.
Yeah, in 2010.
I thought that was going to be a massive hit when he first spun out watching on the replay. I actually, when we were on the wrap-up show, I looked over because I had the race on my television. I saw him slowing on the apron, so I figured something had happened to him. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the replay there and what he had to go through, but just a tremendous save for him to be able to bring the car home in one piece after that. Great job by Sheldon Creed. Hopefully that team is getting things turned around in the right direction, because I know that Sheldon's obviously a great driver, an ARCA champion, truck champion. He's got a good team underneath him. Hopefully they can get some better results in 2023 than they saw, particularly at the start of last year, and continue to build on that program moving forward. That's going to do it for us tonight here on Grid Live Encore. Thank you all so much for watching as always. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, wherever you can find us. But most importantly, here on YouTube, help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers before the Indianapolis 500 later this May. Now, if you really liked what you saw tonight, like I mentioned at the start of the show, you can take 5 minutes afterwards to consider joining our Patreon. Help invest in Grid Network to keep us on the air throughout 2023 and beyond. Our long-term goal is $500 a month. That will allow us to continue to attend the races that we attend now and add new ones to our schedule on a more regular basis, expanding our coverage for you, the viewers. And as always, thank you to Colin Deschelle, Mark, Robin, and David for supporting us over there. If you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can buy me a coffee. Buy a coffee for your favorite on-air talent. Any amount will help us continue to grow this motorsports media outlet. Now, on Wednesday, Kobe will bring you Grid Tonight with Matt White. Josh will be off this week. Joe Samdiego will be back with the Women in Motorsports program on Friday with Daniel Zeri. And, of course, you can stay tuned for more Grid Live coverage this weekend, as always, with pre-race wrap-up and Encore to follow. NASCAR is in Las Vegas. IndyCar opens their season in St. Petersburg. Formula One opens their season in Bahrain. Brandon, Casey, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
A couple of things. I don't think I've got to say it on Grid Live Encore yet, but add the station that I work at as one of the affiliates for MRN and PRN. We got that deal finally this year after a couple of years of trying to get that going. So add another local affiliate to the Motor Racing Network and also PRN. It's been fun putting those local things together and also just kind of being a part of the NASCAR grid, if you will. And also the Music City Grand Prix changed their logo for this season. I wasn't a big fan of it at the beginning, but now it kind of makes sense. It kind of puts more emphasis on Grand Prix and less on Music City. So you may go look at it for yourself, see what you think.
Yeah. Also, I did tease some entry news in trucks. Max Gutierrez will be in the 22 truck for AM Racing, so that will be fun. 35 trucks will be in that field for Las Vegas. No one goes home. The 30 truck of On Point Motorsports has withdrawn from that event. As I said earlier, and also in Xfinity, a couple of entry news. Joe Graff Jr. will be in the 19 once again. Also, Tyler Reddick will be in the 24 for Sam Hunt Racing. And then also Alex LeBay will be in the 28. Kyle Sieg will be in the 38 in Xfinity. And also Mason Maggio will make his Xfinity Series debut for MBM Motorsports in the 66. And also Ryan Vargas will be in the 74 once again.
Well, on that note, Casey, and my final thoughts here, let me give a call to both Ryan Sieg and Kyle Sieg. You see them right there together on the results sheet. Good to see that family-run team still doing what they can. I keep thinking like a win has to happen at some point for them, maybe on a super speedway or something, but they continue to do the best with what they have. It's great to see both Ryan and Kyle running well in Xfinity right now.
How about Josh Williams, top 15 last week and 16th this week? DGM Racing has really kind of turned it around. I was told some things are going to happen. I think I heard Hendrick engines are under the hood over there, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. Josh is a really talented driver. I know he has always got a lot of partners that work with him. I know, and I think that 92 team is going to surprise some people this year.
We'll see. All right, for Brandon Crossland and Casey Campbell, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much as always for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you right back here on Monday to recap Vegas.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.